Even my high school quiz bowl team in grade 11 was Ryan, and a fourth player that I can't remember their name and frankly not relevant to this story because not a Ryan. And I figured that's just what it was, just Ryan being Ryan. Until, of course, 2 years ago when my sister forwarded me an article from the New York Times that said, to get in this party, you'll need the right name. Hint, it's Ryan.
From NCPR and the Adirondack Center for Writing, this is The Howl. True stories, no notes. I'm Ethan Shanty. Thanks for coming back to the show, and for those of you who don't listen all the way through the credits, shame on you, but I'm going to tell you this right at the top. You can get more stories delivered to your email every single week. Subscribe to the Howl newsletter. I'll tell you a goofy story about my life each week and share some cool recommendations. Subscribe to the Howl newsletter, ncpr.org/subscribe. Okay, so we run this other podcast at NCPR. It's called Northward. That actually has a newsletter component as well. Our station manager, Mitch Tyke, hosts it, and I produce it. And each week, it's a different conversation with somebody who's doing something cool in the North Country, whether that's a person who has recently written a book or a person who is from Plattsburgh, for example, who traveled all over the country making money doing caricatures. Joe Ferris was the subject of that interview. It was really cool. And I remember very distinctly the first interview I ever loved, like the one I wanted to know more about the person beyond what was in that 30 minutes of talk. His name was Ryan Vickers, and he spent a lot of his life competing on game shows in Canada. He's been on The Price is Right, he's been on Wheel of Fortune, he's been on shows that I've never heard of like Inside the Box, Brain Battle, Countdown, Ice Cold Cash, and so many more, and I was just like fascinated by everything that he said. So imagine my surprise when a few months ago I got an email from, you guessed it, Ryan Vickers. And he just wanted to tell me that he loved listening to this show, The Howl, and he was excited to hear more. It was the first time that Ryan and I ever exchanged any sort of correspondence, and came out of the blue. I was really surprised, but really delighted. And I thought, well, here's my chance to hear some more of those stories, to dig into this guy's brain a little bit more. So I invited him into the studio, and as we got talking, I realized that although our experiences are pretty much completely different, we're kind of similar people, and we do things just because they sound fun. Like me, for example, all the long drives that I've made with my band to play a show for almost no one, and all the times that people have said to me, do you make any money doing that? Or aren't you a little old to be prancing around the country? I know I've never been fiscally responsible, and so whether or not I'm making any money on the fun things I do has never really occurred to me. I just want to do the thing. A few years ago, my band got invited to play in Chicago at a festival, and realistically, we could count on about $100 in gas. Those of you who are keeping score at home will note that $100 is not going to get 4 grown men and a van and all their gear to Chicago. It won't even get you out of New York State, really, but we did it anyway. We hauled out from Potsdam to Chicago, Illinois, a 12-hour drive one way to play at a bar/restaurant for about 100 people. And the next day, we stuck around to watch a few more bands. We drank our weight in beer, and about 100 different people all gave me their recommendations for the best pizza in Chicago. And you know what? I didn't try a single one of them, because that's not real pizza. New York only. Anyway, my point is, sometimes you just do things because you have to do them. You make a long drive to play that show. You travel 3 hours just to get food from that vegan place that you like. Sometimes you just have to do things that don't make any sense just because you want to do them. And that gets us to Ryan's story, a trip that doesn't make any sense at all to normal people. Something that he did just because it would be ridiculous. So here he is, recorded at the NCPR studios in Canton.
My name is Ryan Vickers, and I'm from Newmarket, Ontario, Canada. There are 2 things you should know about me. First of all, I love game shows. I love game shows so much that I've been on 12 of them over the years in multiple countries, and I currently work on 2 of them. But more than that, you should know that my name is Ryan. Growing up, I was told that the Irish word for little king is the equivalent of Ryan in English. And while that's all well and good, I was also told and led to believe for years that I was named after a Welsh lounge singer. Now, to be fair to my parents, his name is Ryan Davies. He's really good. They saw him perform a few times, and he was one of the first personalities on the BBC in Wales. So given my life choices, I'd like to say, thanks, Mom and Dad. You did well. I appreciate it. So that was just it. Ryan was a name, and going through school was kind of neat when I discovered that my best friend when I moved in grade 6, is also named Ryan, and he also has the same middle name as me, but of course, for legal purposes, we won't share that today. And hell, even my high school quiz bowl team in grade 11 was Ryan, 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 and a fourth player that I can't remember their name, and frankly, not relevant to this story because not a Ryan. And I figured that's just what it was, just Ryan being Ryan. Until, of course, 2 years ago when my sister forwarded an article from the New York Times that said, to get in this party, you'll need the right name. Hint, it's Ryan. This would be perfect for you, she said. And I mean, she's not wrong at all. Now, let's put aside the fact that I was actually in New York City the day of the inaugural Ryan meetup. And, well, I didn't see any of the flyers, so I kind of missed it, but I vowed to myself that I would not miss another one, especially if it was near me. And lo and behold, last fall in Toronto was Ryan Royale. Each of the Ryan meetups has a theme, and we were Ryan Royale that day. And it was great because I met Ryan after Ryan after Ryan after Ryan. And to be fair, there was also some celebrity Ryans that came in for the event. There was Ryan from Brooklyn, New York, who flew in to make his world-famous poutine. There was Ryan from North Carolina, who flew in to sing and rap for us. And there was Ryan, who flew in from Los Angeles, thus winning the Furthest Ryan Traveled Award. And it was even nice to see two Ryans who had met each other in university and got married. There was just an outpouring of Ryan love. And you know what the best part was? No Bryans. No Bryans are allowed. I apologize to my friends that are Bryans, but it's just the way it has to be. Now, at that event, I found out about some future Ryan events, and I thought, oh, there's one particular that I have to keep my eye on. And so I thought, you know, they've told me roughly the date. I can work that out in my schedule. It'll be great. It'll be great. So then the event came announced on social media, and I had a bit of a dilemma. I thought, you know, I'm already scheduled to fly to North Carolina for a 5K run the next weekend. And I thought, do I want to be on opposite coasts of the continent in back-to-back weekends, meanwhile, where I have a day job in a different country? And I thought, maybe this is too much. So I didn't go. The end. This NCPR no. We're not going to be that way. Of course, I'm Ryan. Of course I went to the event. And mind you, that was helped by a wonderful birthday dinner earlier this year and probably an assist by the adult beverage I had that night. And I sat down on my phone and I booked a round trip ticket to San Diego, California for the next Ryan event. Now, as it turned out, when I was flying, on the way back, I had a direct flight, but on the way there, it was a connection in Denver. And I'm sure Denver is a wonderful city, and I look forward to seeing it one time. But I only had an hour to connect, and I had to switch terminals, so time was of the essence when I got there. Well, in theory, I was supposed to have an hour. We got in so late, that hour became a scant 12 minutes. But hell hath no fury like a Ryan on a time crunch. So I grabbed my backpack, I ran down the jet bridge, and I got out of the gate, and I started yelling, "Where is the people mover?" And I ran down the hall the way they pointed me, down escalator 1, down escalator 2, just to see the people mover start to move people. So I waited another 2 minutes knowing that the clock was ticking. I ran onto the people mover, had a nice little chat with people, made some quick friends over that 30-second journey. And with the chorus of, "Run, Ryan, run!" I ran up escalator 1. I ran up escalator 2. I had to pause to dodge around the coffee lineup. And I got to my gate and the door was still open. Thank goodness. Several hours later, having settled into the hostel that was across from the venue where we were going to have the Ryan meetup that night, I checked in and just, you know, they actually do card at these events to make sure, A, you're a Ryan, and B, you're certainly not a Brian. So we get into the event, and it was actually at a comedy club, which the night before had hosted an all-Ryan comedy night, because again, this is what we do. And I met all of the Ryans again. Some who recognized me from the Toronto event, some who didn't recognize me from the Toronto event, and I recognized them, and some who recognized me from a social media post that was posted earlier that week with, you know, why my interest of being there had become revealed. So we all grab a drink, we meet up, we take pictures, we just generally cavort and behave ourselves to the most part. And we walk into the comedy club and we sit down. And this is when I tell you that my ship had truly come in. I was at the first ever Ryan's game show. And the best thing of all for me was the fact that I didn't have to organize it. I'm the person organizing all these game show events because that's what people know me as. I'm known amongst the Ryan community as Game Show Ryan. This is what I do. However, I got to sit back and relax and enjoy. So host Ryan, who we found out later had become a Price is Right contestant not 3 days earlier, but, spoilers and NDAs, couldn't tell us then, had given us all Price is Right name tags with Ryan and a number written on it. And if it was me, I would have had this big, huge to-do with a big lottery ball machine and all the numbered balls on ping pongs, and we'd be picking out like that. No, that's not how it happened. It was totally so much more unhinged, and I was there for it. So we started the proceedings. The music blares out of the speakers. Ryan, 61, come on down. Ryan, 203, come on down. And that's kind of how it went for the whole night. And again, it was different, but I loved it and I was there for it. So we started into these Ryan-themed game shows. The first was, of course, a good start was The Price is Ryan, where Ryans had to come on down and figure out the cameo values of famous Ryans. Fun fact, the cameo value for badass / championship swimmer Ryan Lochte is $90. We then moved into Ryan or No Ryan, where a previously ambushed Ryan had to come up on stage and figure out who was a Ryan and who was not a Ryan. And oh, you avoided the Bryans. You can see there's a running theme here. This is what we do. Then we moved on to First Name Feud, where of course the Ryans won. We got into the quiz portion of the evening with Ryanpardy or Jeopardy, depending on the format that you prefer. And then we moved on to Wheel of Ryan. And as a former Wheel of Fortune contestant myself, class of 1997, I was a little sad that it didn't get picked, but I was proud that I was able to pick off the phrase with one letter in the audience. I won't reveal it because it wasn't the nicest phrase, I will say. We then took a little break so host Ryan and his assistants could make sure to wet their whistle, and we came back, and the first game of the second half was, where in the world did Ryan come to San Diego from? Now, even though I traveled in from Canada, I didn't win the award. It went to 2 Boston Ryan roommates, of which, of course, I think one Ryan got it because it was on the right side of the room. We finished off the traditional game show event with Which Ryan Wants to Become a Millionaire, where host Ryan guided contestant Ryan through scratching a millionaire scratch card. Here's a hint, Ryan's not a millionaire. We then moved on to the performance aspect, the more talent-based things with Ryan's Got Talent. Now, here was the thing that had gravitas. You had to make sure to send in a video, and I was chosen, and I got to perform my cup stacking, sport stacking, speed stacking, call it what you will, in front of 250 plus Ryans, and it went well. And I was judged by 3 Ryans doing their best Paula, Randy, and Simon impression from American Idol in 2003, and I sat down. And I was followed by, in no particular order, a bird caller, a circus artist, 2 comedians, and a musician. And then host Ryan says, hey, why don't we get everyone back on stage? That'll be fine. We'll all do our talents at the same time. Now, I couldn't help but notice as I was stacking my cups, up stacking, down stacking, as you do, I looked in the corner of my eye and I see Circus Ryan balancing a ladder on his chin. And I think, gee, I wonder if my health insurance is up to date. Thankfully, all Ryan safety protocols were adhered to. Circus Ryan won the event. I got second. I was a happy man. I sat back down. We finished the evening with Dancing with the Ryans, Ryan's Idol, and then a big championship song of RYAN to make sure the evening finished out well. And Ryan won the event. I don't know which one, but it's not relevant. It's Ryan. It's fine. I would have stayed for the after Ryan parties, but at that point I'd been up for almost 24 hours, and I mean, even I have my limits. Although I did ask nicely and was granted one of the Ed McMahon-type Publishers Clearinghouse checks to take home with me, which was hilarious getting it through security and the overhead bin on the plane. So you might ask yourself, why do Ryans do this? Well, frankly, it's no different from you going out for a pickleball game with your buddies or maybe having friends over an Oscar-nominated movie. It's just a bunch of people getting together and having fun and hopefully doing some good things in the process and maybe taking up a social cause. And you know what the best thing about that whole event was? Not just meeting the Ryans. There were no Bryans.
That's going to do it for today. Thanks so much, Ryan Vickers, for coming into the studio. And join us next week for a story recorded live on stage from Alex Clark.
And about 30, 40 feet away, one of the maintenance workers heard it too and walked over to us very intently and stared us down. And he said, empty your pockets. And so we started. Candy wrappers, change, house keys, wallet, cigarettes, and bubble wrap.
The Howl is written, produced, and edited by me. I'm Ethan Shanty. David Summerstein is our script supervisor. Doyle Dean is our production manager. Caitlin Kelly handles social media. And Bill Hanel is our director of digital services. To support this show and listen to more episodes, visit ncpr.org/subscribe. And as I told you at the top, you can get even more stories delivered directly to your email inbox every week when you subscribe to the Howl newsletter. In recent editions, I've talked about getting put in the spotlight at a drag show, trying to find a dark alley that I could sneak a cigarette in while visiting New York City for the first time, and a lot of other weird stuff. Check it out. Subscribe at ncpr.org/subscribe. See you next week. For North Country Public Radio, I'm Ethan Shanty. This is The Howl.